On the fifth Sunday of Lent, the liturgy proclaims the Gospel in which St. John refers to an episode that occurred in the final days of Christ's life shortly before the Passion. While Jesus was in Jerusalem for the feast of Passover, several Greeks, curious because of what he had been doing, expressed a wish to see him. The Greeks have asked to see Jesus. Who are the Greeks? Greeks are the pagans according to the Jews. At first, Jesus' response to the disciples when they tell him seems odd. Jesus starts talking about grain and wheat and troubled soul. A couple of things have happened. Remember, as stated in the John's Gospel, to see is to understand. They want to know Jesus, not just seeing. They want to know more about him. Jesus wants all of them, including the disciples, to know who he is. And so he begins to tell them about the coming events. The hour Jesus refers to it isn't a chronological time, but the right time for something to happen. He makes an analogy, though admittedly one that's difficult to understand, with a grain of wheat that dies and the need for those who serve him to also follow him. The message asks for faithfulness and the courage to stay until the end. Jesus does not even think about asking his Father to save him. He sees in the coming events that Father's name will be glorified. The whole focus is towards Calvary. The sign of the cross comes to mind, which over the centuries has become the symbol par excellence of Christians. Even today, those who wish to see Jesus, perhaps coming from countries and cultures where Christianity is not well known, what do they see first? What is the most common sign they encounter? The crucifix, the cross. In churches, in the homes of Christians, even worn on their persons, the important thing is the sign be consistent with the gospel. The cross cannot but express love, service, unreserved self-giving. Only in this way is truly the tree of life or overabundant life. The hour has come for Son of Man to be glorified. Unless a grain of wheat falls into the earth and dies, it remains just a single grain. But if it dies, it bears much fruit. These words do not seem to respond to requests those Greeks made. In fact, Jesus reveals that for every man and woman who wants to find him, he is the hidden seed ready to die in order to bear much fruit. As if to say, if you wish to know me, if you wish to understand me, look at the grain of wheat that dies in the soil, that is looking at the cross. In the words of Pope Benedict, he himself is the grain of wheat which came from God, the divine grain that lets itself fall to the ground, that lets itself sink, be broken down to death, and precisely by doing germinates and can thus bear fruit in the immensity of the world. But above all, Jesus would accomplish the coming of his kingdom through his death on the cross and his resurrection. And I, when I am lifted up from the earth, will draw all people to myself. John chapter 12:32. Into this union with Christ, all people are called. The hour has